Hoy quiero que te hagas una pregunta más simple, pero poderosa. Si puede padece dentro de un año, no te sentirás más cansado, sino más fuerte. Si vais ahí en lugar de sentir que el tiempo te pisa, sentirás que te impulsa. Sentirse joven no es una cuestión de edad, es una cuestión de hábitos. No es el número en el documento lo que decide si te sientes, sino lo que haces cada día. Incluso, many people believe that age is something that happens to us, something that slowly takes away our strength, enthusiasm, and energy. But the truth is that what truly shapes how we feel is not the number of years we have lived, but the habits we practice every single day. Two people can be the same age and live completely different realities. One feels tired, unmotivated, and disconnected from life, while the other feels curious, active, and full of energy. The difference is not time itself, but how that time has been used. Every habit sends a message to the body and the mind. When you wake up and immediately complain, rush, or focus on what is missing, you teach your system to start the day in tension. Over time, that tension becomes a fatigue. On the other hand, when you begin your day with intentional actions, breathing deeply, moving your body, setting a positive focus, you remind yourself that you are in control of your energy. These small daily choices accumulate quietly, diaries, shaping how young or old you feel on the inside. Energy is not something you either have or don't have. It is something you create. When you eat poorly, sleep irregularly, and avoid movement, your body adapts by slowing down. It is not punishing you. It is responding to the signals you give it. In the same way, when you choose habits that nourish you, rest, movement, meaningful activity, your body responds with vitality. Youthfulness is not lost. It is either supported or neglected through repetition. The mind plays an equally important role. Repeating phrases like, I'm too old for this, or I don't have the energy anymore, may seem harmless, but over time they become beliefs. The brain listens to what you say and adjusts accordingly. When you believe your best days are behind you, motivation fades and the body follows. But when you tell yourself that growth is still possible, that learning never stops, your brain stays flexible and engaged. This mental flexibility is one of the strongest markers of feeling young. Habits also shape your emotional state. When your routine is filled with obligation but no joy, life begins to feel heavy. But when you intentionally include moments of pleasure, creativity, and connection, you remind yourself that life is meant to be experienced, not just endured. Laughter, meaningful conversations, and moments of gratitude renew emotional energy, which directly influences physical vitality. Feeling young is not about denying reality or pretending challenges don't exist. It is about choosing responses that empower you instead of draining you. Each habit is a vote for the type of life you want to live. Over months and years, those votes become your reality. Age will continue to pass as it always does, but your energy does not have to decline with it. When your habits align with growth, care, and intention, you don't just feel younger, you live fuller. The way you speak to yourself is one of the most powerful forces shaping your energy, confidence, and sense of vitality. Long before the body shows signs of aging, the mind begins to slow down through negative internal dialogue. Many people are unaware of how often they criticize themselves, doubt their abilities, or relive past mistakes in their thoughts. These silent messages are repeated so frequently that they become accepted as truth, and over time, they drain emotional and physical energy. Every thought carries an emotional charge, and every emotion produces a physiological response. When your inner voice is harsh, pessimistic, or fearful, the body reacts by tightening, conserving energy, and staying in a defensive state. This constant inner tension creates exhaustion. It is not external circumstances that age people prematurely, but the continuous stress generated by the way they interpret and speak about those circumstances internally. A negative inner dialogue slowly teaches the body to feel tired even when there is no physical reason to be. On the other hand, when the internal conversation is supportive, calm, and constructive, the body responds differently. Speaking to yourself with encouragement does not mean ignoring reality or avoiding responsibility. It means choosing words that help you move forward instead of keeping you trapped. When you replace phrases like, "I can't handle this," with, "I'm learning how to handle this," your nervous system stays open and flexible. That flexibility is essential for feeling alive and capable. The brain does not clearly distinguish between external voices and internal ones. The same way repeated criticism from others can damage confidence, repeated self-criticism can weaken motivation and joy. Over time, this creates a self-image that feels old, limited, and fragile. But when you consciously change the language you use with yourself, words such as progress, possibility, and growth activate curiosity and hope, which are deeply connected to youthfulness. Your inner dialogue also influences how you face challenges. When difficulties appear, a negative voice says, "This always happens to me," or "I knew I would fail." These thoughts close the mind and reduce energy. A supportive inner voice, however, says, "This is difficult, but I can learn from it." This approach keeps the mind engaged and resilient. Resilience is not about avoiding pain, it is about recovering quickly and staying emotionally agile. Changing the way you speak to yourself requires awareness and practice. It begins with listening, not judging your thoughts, but noticing them. Once you become aware, you can choose to replace damaging words with constructive ones. This simple shift has a powerful effect. As your inner dialogue becomes more respectful and encouraging, tension decreases, confidence grows, and energy returns. When the mind feels supported instead of attacked, the body follows. This is how language becomes a tool, not just for communication, but for renewal and vitality. The human body was designed for movement, not for stillness. Yet many people live as if movement were optional, something to be done only when there is extra time or motivation. Over time, this lack of movement sends a silent message to the body that it is no longer needed at full capacity. Muscles weaken, joints stiffen, circulation slows, and energy levels drop. This is not because the body is aging, but because it is adapting to inactivity. When movement disappears from daily life, vitality slowly fades with it. Movement is far more than physical exercise. It is communication. Every time you move, you tell your body that it matters, that it has a purpose, and that it is meant to stay alive and responsive. Even simple actions like walking, stretching, or changing posture activate systems that regulate energy, mood, and focus. The body responds quickly to these signals. Blood flows more freely, oxygen reaches the brain, and hormones related to well-being are released. These changes happen almost immediately, proving that vitality is not something lost forever, but something that can be reawakened. Many people believe that movement must be intense to be effective, but consistency is far more important than intensity. A short walk every day is more powerful than an occasional burst of extreme effort followed by long periods of inactivity. When movement becomes part of daily routine, the body begins to trust that it will be used. This trust creates efficiency, strength, and a sense of lightness that people often describe as feeling younger. Movement also has a profound effect on the mind. Physical activity reduces mental noise, anxiety, and emotional heaviness. When the body moves, the mind resets. Problems that seemed overwhelming begin to feel manageable. This mental clarity is one of the reasons movement is so closely linked to youthfulness. A clear, active mind feels alive, curious, and capable. It does not feel trapped or tired by default. Another important aspect of movement is body awareness. When people stop moving, they often stop listening to their bodies. They ignore signals of tension, fatigue, or discomfort until those signals become pain. Movement restores that connection. Stretching, breathing, and gentle activity help you notice how you feel and respond with care instead of neglect. This awareness creates a relationship with the body based on respect, not punishment. Movement also builds confidence. Each time you move despite feeling tired or unmotivated, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of taking action. This sense of capability spills into other areas of life. You stand taller, think more clearly, and approach challenges with greater resilience. Feeling young is deeply connected to feeling capable. The body does not need perfection, it needs participation. When movement becomes a daily habit, energy increases naturally. You don't move because you have energy. You gain energy because you move. This simple shift transforms not only how the body feels, but how life is experienced. Everything you consume leaves a trace within you. Most people think only of food when they hear the word consume. But consumption goes far beyond what you eat. You are constantly absorbing information, emotions, conversations, images, and ideas, and all of these shape how you feel on a daily basis. When your system is overloaded with negativity, excess or poor quality input, energy drops and the body begins to feel heavy. Vitality is not only built through action but also protected through conscious choice. Food plays an important role because it becomes the raw material your body uses to function. When you nourish yourself with foods that support your system, digestion improves, inflammation decreases, and energy becomes more stable. When nutrition is poor or excessive, the body spends most of its energy trying to compensate. This constant effort creates fatigue. Eating is not just about filling hunger, it is about giving your body what it needs to thrive. When nourishment is intentional, the body responds with clarity and lightness. However, mental and emotional consumption can be even more influential than physical food. The mind is constantly processing information, and not all information is neutral. Continuous exposure to fear, conflict, and negativity keeps the nervous system on alert. This state of alertness drains energy, accelerates exhaustion, and makes even small tasks feel overwhelming. Over time, this mental overload creates a feeling of inner aging, where enthusiasm fades and curiosity disappears. When you choose what you expose your mind to, you regain control of your emotional energy. Reading or listen to content that inspires, educates, or uplifts activates motivation and hope. These emotions expand the mind instead of compressing it. A mind that feels open and inspired sends signals of safety and optimism to the body, allowing energy to flow more freely. This is why people who carefully choose their mental input often appear calmer, more focused, and more alive. Emotional consumption also comes through relationships. Conversations filled with constant complaint, judgment, or resentment leave a residue of heaviness. In contrast, interactions based on understanding, laughter, and authenticity restore energy. This does not mean avoiding difficult conversations, but choosing honesty without toxicity. Emotional hygiene is as important as physical hygiene when it comes to maintaining vitality. Even the pace at which you consume matters. Constant stimulation without pause prevents the mind from integrating what it receives. Silence, rest, and moments of disconnection allow the system to reset. Just as overeating overwhelms digestion, Overconsumption of information overwhelms the mind. Balance is essential. Choosing what you consume is an act of self-respect. When you become selective, energy stops leaking away. The body feels lighter, the mind becomes clearer, and emotions stabilize. Vitality is not created by adding more, but by choosing better. What you allow into your system shapes how young, awake, and alive you feel each day. The moment a person stops learning, something inside begins to slow down. Learning is not only about acquiring information, it is about keeping the mind active, flexible, and engaged with life. When curiosity fades, routine takes over, and days begin to feel repetitive and heavy. This mental stagnation is one of the strongest contributors to feeling old, regardless of physical condition. A mind that no longer explores gradually loses its sense of vitality. Learning keeps the brain adaptable. Each time you learn something new, the brain creates new connections and strengthens existing ones. This process stimulates alertness, focus, and creativity. When the mind is challenged in a healthy way, it feels alive and responsive. This mental freshness directly influences how you experience your body and emotions. People who continue learning often report feeling more confident and energized, not because life is easier, but because they feel capable of adapting to change. Curiosity is the driving force behind learning, and curiosity is deeply connected to youthfulness. Children feel alive because they are constantly discovering. They ask questions, explore possibilities, and approach life with openness. Adults often lose this habit by convincing themselves that they already know enough or that learning is no longer necessary. This belief closes the mind and limits growth. When curiosity returns, enthusiasm follows naturally. Learning also reshapes identity. When you learn, you step into the role of a beginner, and this requires humility and openness. Instead of clinging to who you were, you allow yourself to evolve. This flexibility prevents the rigid thinking that often leads to emotional exhaustion. A flexible mind adapts rather than resists, and resistance is one of the greatest sources of fatigue. Another powerful effect of learning is its impact on confidence. Every new skill, insight, or understanding reinforces the belief that growth is still possible. This belief fuels motivation. When people believe they can still grow, they approach life with energy instead of fear. They stop measuring themselves by past limitations and begin focusing on future potential. This shift restores a sense of movement and purpose. Learning does not have to be formal or complex. It can be as simple as reading a few pages each day, listening to new ideas, practicing a creative hobby, or developing a practical skill. What matters is consistency. Small daily learning habits keep the mind stimulated and prevent mental rigidity. Over time, these small efforts accumulate into a powerful sense of renewal. Learning also expands perspective. When you learn, you realize that life is larger than your current problems. This broader view reduces emotional heaviness and increases resilience. Challenges feel less threatening when the mind remains open and resourceful. A mind that continues to learn does not feel trapped by time. It feels connected to possibility. This sense of possibility keeps energy flowing, motivation alive, and the spirit young, regardless of age. Having a sense of purpose is one of the most powerful sources of energy a human being can experience. When life feels meaningful, the body and mind respond with strength, motivation, and resilience. Without purpose, even rest does not restore energy, because fatigue is not always physical. It is often the result of feeling disconnected from meaning. People do not grow old simply because time passes. They grow tired when they no longer know why they are doing what they do. Purpose gives direction to effort. When you wake up knowing that your actions matter, even challenges feel different. Difficulties become part of a larger journey instead of obstacles without meaning. This sense of direction activates inner resources that remain dormant when life feels random or empty. Energy flows more naturally when it has somewhere to go. A person with purpose moves through life with intention, and intention sustains vitality. Living with purpose does not mean having all the answers or following a perfect plan. Purpose is not something fixed. It evolves as you grow. It can be found in contributing to others, creating something meaningful, learning, teaching, caring, or simply becoming a better version of yourself. What matters is not the size of the purpose, but the connection you feel to it. Even small personal purposes can generate deep motivation and a sense of aliveness. When people lose touch with purpose, they often experience emotional heaviness. Days feel repetitive, motivation fades, and energy drops. The body mirrors this internal state by slowing down. In contrast, when purpose is present, the nervous system shifts into a state of engagement. Focus improves, resilience increases, and fatigue becomes easier to manage. Purpose acts as an inner fuel that renews energy from within. Purpose also influences how people age emotionally. Those who feel useful, needed, and aligned with something meaningful tend to maintain a youthful attitude. They stay curious, engaged, and open to growth. Purpose pulls attention outward, away from excessive self-focus and worry. This outward focus reduces stress and creates a sense of connection with life. Connection is a key element of feeling young. Another important aspect of purpose is that it helps people endure uncertainty. Life inevitably brings change and loss. Without purpose, these moments can feel overwhelming. With purpose, they become part of a larger story. This perspective does not remove pain, but it prevents despair. Emotional resilience grows when life is anchored in meaning. Purpose is strengthened through action. Each time you act in alignment with what matters to you, your sense of meaning deepens. This creates a positive cycle. Purpose generates energy. Energy supports action, and action reinforces purpose. Over time, this cycle becomes a source of renewal. Feeling young is not about avoiding aging. It is about staying connected to meaning. When life has purpose, the spirit remains awake, engaged, and alive, regardless of the years that pass. In the end, feeling younger is not about changing the past or fearing the future, but about choosing how you live today. Every habit, every thought, and every action is an opportunity to renew your energy and reconnect with life. When you care for your mind, move your body, choose what you consume, keep learning, and live with purpose, age loses its power over you. Vitality becomes a daily practice, not a distant memory. The years may pass, but when you live with intention and meaning, you don't just add life to your years, you add youth to your life.